Welcome to Interpersonal Communication. Today I want to give you a very brief overview of your textbook, the Interpersonal Communication book by Joseph A. DeVito, and discuss a few important highlights from the first chapter. So let's get started. Our textbook is divided into 3 parts, and so our semester will follow this division. In part 1, we'll discuss the preliminaries to interpersonal communication. This will give us a solid foundation of what constitutes communication. Part 2 discusses interpersonal messages. And here we'll explore different kinds of messages, from nonverbal to emotional. Part 3 discusses interpersonal relationships. This section will challenge you to examine your relationships and apply communication principles to them. Now, every instructor probably will approach teaching a course like this from a little different perspective. So let me share my perspective. I believe interpersonal communication is a theory or content course, and a personal growth or skills-based course. And what I mean is that I want you to learn lots of new information, but I also want you to be a different person at the end of the semester in how you communicate with the people in your life that you talk to every day. Knowledge should be transformative. Let's spend a couple of minutes on some highlights from the chapter. Chapter 1 begins by asking a question. Why study interpersonal communication? As you read through the textbook, you'll find that the book gives you some ideas, but you ought to stop and ask yourself this question. Ask yourself what you expect to get out of this course. At the end of this video, why don't you write down some personal goals that you have concerning your relationships? Here's how I would personally answer this why question. When we're all very young, we tend to be extremely self-centered. And it's easy to continue to focus on ourselves as we go along, to focus on being right at all costs and focus on getting our way. At some point, we need to push pause and think about how we're doing in our relationships and our interpersonal communication. Studying interpersonal communication will challenge you to think about how you are communicating with the individuals around you. Studying this subject will help you to examine yourself in the light of solid communication theory and self-reflection. Another highlight for me in Chapter 1 deals with the section about choices. As it says in the textbook, interpersonal communication involves choices. The book asks us to think about times in the past when you had to make an interpersonal communication choice. The book calls this a choice point. A choice point's a time when you could have said something one way, or you could have reacted to a situation in a certain way, but you made a choice, and it may not have turned out so well at the time. This course is all about examining how we might make better choices in the future with the new knowledge and experience that we will be gaining. In each video, I'm going to refer to a test question that'll be on the final. So guys, here's your first test question. Are you ready? In Chapter 1, it talks about the elements of interpersonal communication. The elements of interpersonal communication. Name them. Now here's the answer. Source, receiver, encoding, decoding, messages, channel, noise, and context. One last thing. A great communication tip concept mentioned on page 13 is about feed forwarding. Feed forwarding is information you provide before your primary message. This sounds like a theoretical concept, but think about its importance for a second. If you have something important to say to a friend, a partner, or an acquaintance, it's important to make sure that they're listening and ready to focus on your message. Also, you might want to just prepare them psychologically for your message. Therefore, you might feed forward by preceding your main statement with a phrase like, "I need to tell you something important. Is this a good time?" Or you might say, "This is really hard for me to say, but will you listen clear through before responding?" It's amazing what a simple concept will do for your interpersonal communication. Well, I hope you get a lot out of this first chapter as you explore and learn. I want the very best for you this semester. See you next week. Communicate. You can do it.